So welcome back to obviously Fight Talk, and if you're watching on the tube of you will see, and if you're listening on a listening device, you are about to hear. We are now joined, we're not saying he's the best, we're just saying there's nobody better. Brendan Dorman, welcome back, my man, to obviously Fight Talk.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
We've gone Ron Burgundy again. We're looking ahead to UFC 215. It is a stacked card. It feels like finally, I know the card went down at the weekend, but it's finally we've got a big card to get our teeth into, to talk about, to break down. So let's start at the opening bout of the main event, where we see who the fuck is that guy, Jeremy Stephens, take on Gilbert Melendez. This is a big fight.
I'll never shake it. He'll never shake that joke. Continue.
No, he never will. He never will. Look, sure, I was just that guy who done it. But Jeremy Stevenson currently on a 2-fight losing streak, and Gilbert Melendez currently on a 3-fight losing streak. So this is a pretty big and important fight for both fighters, almost for their contracts more than anything. But looking at the fight, Brendan, what's your initial thoughts on it?
I think you've got kind of contrasting styles in that Gilbert's kind of he's like a pressure fighter with a great chin and a lot of heart, although I think that saying's a little loaded, but he can take one, whereas Stephens throws bombs. But what you're going to see is, I think Stephens used to fight at 155, right? And
yes.
But he recently cut to 145, let's say, within the last year or so.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly with him, but I know this is Gil's first fight at 145.
That's
so
correct, yeah.
I mean, he never looked like, Arnold in the Conan movies, but we'll see how he cuts weight. You know what I mean? Because he was never all that, svelte looking. So I'm sure he could have found 10 pounds somewhere. I think you just have kind of you have someone who might be a little more ring savvy, a little better on the ground in Gilbert, and you have a really hard hitter in Stephens who makes no apologies about swinging for the fence. But Gilbert, you gotta hit. If you remember his what was it, Diego Sanchez fight? You guys remember that fight?
Yeah.
I mean, that was ridiculous. It was like a street fight with two guys high on cocaine. You know what I mean? It was madness. So I can see that. I can see some pretty crazy exchanges. I doubt that fight will be boring. I really do. I don't know who I favor. Usually I take a vet and kind of an even thing, but it's Gilbert's first cut, which is a little interesting. They both have really good training partners. I don't know. I could see it going either way, but I definitely see it being exciting. It could be one of those kind of stalwarts, but let's just kind of hope not, I guess.
In fairness to both fighters, Melendez, his 3 losses have come against Barboza, Eddie Alvarez, and Anthony Pettis. So he's not in there.
Yeah, 0 same there.
Yeah, he's not in there with anyone who, you know what I mean, you could say, oh my God, how did he lose to him? And then on the other side, you have Stevenson has lost to Caminero and Frankie Edgar. I agree in a way that Jeremy Stevenson, he throws the kitchen sink into every shot he throws. He throws to finish the fight. The fight that really stands out for me, Jeremy Stephens, is against Dennis Bermudez. That flying knee finish where he just jumped up and landed it. The technique was crisp to do it in the time when it was an absolute brawl right up against the cage. After that, he got beaten by Max Holloway. Again, no shame in that.
No.
But for me, this is Gilbert Melendez. Brennan, we've spoke about this loads of times about the expiry date of that, the expiry date of the chin. He is known. I think the weight cut is going to be huge here. I really do. I know what you're saying. Like, Gil never looked like, the shredded guy in the cage.
He wasn't that guy.
He almost looks like the guy who's having a few beers in the bar and a fight break out and you're in the car park and he takes his top off and let's go, motherfucker. But I just think
Carl Doran.
Yeah, I just think terrible. I just think the cut is going to be a big thing, and especially with the chin, because we know Stevens' power down at featherweight as well is there. It's there to see. He's knocked guys out with it. But if Melendez can weather that storm and take it and keep a high pace in the fight, I think that's where Gil will prosper again, depending on how good the weight cut goes.
I do think the weight cut is a big one because, and someone I look similar, and not similar because Anthony Pettis doesn't have the body type of Gilbert Melendez, but he was a guy at lightweight who you'd look at and you'd say, yeah, he's not that big. He could probably make featherweight if he tried. And when he tried to make featherweight, a Duke apparently said, no, let's stop this weight cut because this is getting bad. So I just hope that it doesn't turn out that way, because you see a lot of guys, say like Daniel Cormier, who struggles to get to light heavyweight, and he doesn't look like he should struggle to get to light heavyweight. It's just his body type. Maybe he retains water differently. It's the chemistry of the body in a way. So I just hope that's not a bad weight cut. And if it's not a bad weight cut, I'd probably favour Gilbert Melendez in this one. Because I think he sets up his shots a little bit better than Stevens. Who Stevens will come forward and he'll look for that one big shot. Sometimes he'll try to set them up, sometimes he won't. But the difference between Melendez and Diego Sanchez in their fight was that Melendez set up his shots, whereas Diego was just swinging. He was looking for that big shot. And if it gets into that kind of firefight, I think that it could be a similar situation where Melendez will set up his shots and Stevens will try to get that big home run shot and try to get the job done. So I think the weight cut is a big important one in this one as well.
The bookies are quite close on it. If you're going to paddypower.com, in decimals they have Jeremy Stevenson as 1.8 and they have Melendez as 1.9.
You went with the wrong odds again.
I know,
for Brendan.
but that's what... Well,
it's okay.
Brendan's bloody... He's over there with their weird betting of odds and under and over, yeah. But just Stevens a slight favourite. So again, I think that's fair with the fact that he's more versed at that weight class. He's playing there, I think, since 2013. So maybe that has an outcome on, but I'd pick... Ooh, the pick is weird. I'd go with Melendez if the cut goes well. If it's a bad cut,
if I was going to make an official pick, which we do on the show, but if I was going to make an official pick, I'd like to wait to see the weight cut, to see what he looks like on the scales. Yeah. But I'll go out on a limb, I'll pick Melendez just for what I said. But if he looks like a skeleton up on the scale, or he just looks drained, then that pick will change quickly.
I expect though, with the camp he's in...
Well, Pettis is in a great camp too, and his weight cut went terrible. It's just, it can happen.
True.
Let me make 2 quick points on that one, because you guys brought things up that I think are interesting. Yeah. I'll be fast. Gilbert is very technical while not looking technical with his hands. Don't forget his wife is like a world championship level kickboxer. He's much like the Diaz brothers in that their striking doesn't necessarily look finesse. It's not this beautiful... Conor movement, like where everything Conor does looks like he's almost dancing, or Floyd for that matter, or Roy Jones in his prime. Like there's certain people, they have a movement to them that's all. John Jones, when he's on, it's very graceful almost, right? Whereas the Diaz brothers and even Gil to some extent, it's not necessarily this beautiful, like it's not like that. Yeah, it's really not. But it's shot selection, experience, really good sparring partners, phenomenal ground game. He's got excellent jiu-jitsu. And then the second addendum would be on the weight cut. You were talking about the expiration date on the chin, Noel?
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, you guys might know this, but for the people that may not, is that how knockouts really happen. We always talk about the chin, but it's really not your chin. There's no pressure point on your chin. There's this one I know we've talked about it before, but it's really this motion. When your mouth's open and you're tired, that's why when a mouthpiece flies out a lot of times, often you'll see that. It's actually how fast your brain moves in your head, and it short circuits, right? Now, bear in mind, when you cut weight, it's all fluid, right? Yeah. So if that little bit of fluid in your brain is somehow then thinned down, if you're dehydrated enough, like if someone right before they got to the scale were to get hit with like a backhand, you might be able to knock them out, because they don't have that preservation sac between their actual brain and their actual skull. So, to your chin point, right? Because Pettis never got finished from strikes until Holloway. Keep that in mind. Yeah. So those things are relative. I think those are both really good bring-ups by you guys. Anyhow.
No, we agree.
Dropping signs with Brendan Dorman.
I agree, we're great. Your next bout of the evening sees a light heavyweight bout between Ilir Latifi and Tyson Pedro. This is a fight of big heavy hitters. Pedro coming off a great victory over Paul Craig at UFC in Scotland. That was in Scotland, wasn't it?
It was indeed, I think. Yeah, it was indeed, yeah.
No, Woodley Thompson too, actually. It says, sorry. Wrong. Oh. And then Latifi, his last fight was actually a defeat to Ryan Bader. So Latifi's been out of action since September of last year. So Latifi he's dangerous, isn't he? He's a heavy hitter, like
scrappy.
That fight in Dublin the night McGregor Brandao, Chris Dempsey, holy lamb of Jesus, the finish he put on Chris Dempsey. But how do we see this one, Brendan? What's your thoughts on this one, my man?
I think I've watched a little film on both of them. I recall a lot of Latifi's fights. Yeah. That one, unlike the other one, I don't want to put my stamp of approval as far as excitement level. That could be a slow grind. Yeah. Both of them seem content to go for takedowns and try to do damage. What's his name there?
Pedro.
Tyson Pedro guy. Yeah. There's not much to go on with him in the UFC anyway. With Latifi, he's just had an absence. Latifi was, I think, a European trials Abu Dhabi either finalist or
I think he might be right.
He's very high level as a grappler. It's just a matter of getting there, and if both of them are favoring that, then I think Pedro has a background in maybe like Kempo or something, some kind of striking. I'm not positive, but I haven't seen it. You know what I mean? Like I've read it, but I haven't seen his movement give me any indication that he's good on his feet. Latifi has power on his feet, but he's, again, we could go back to the not exactly moving like a ballerina out there. Yeah. I think you go with the experienced guy, although 205 desperately needs things to happen. I thought Saki was going to fight on this card, if not the next. Like something over, in this area or this time. He should be about ready to go. Gokhan Saki would have been fun. But yeah, 205 just seems starving. You know what I mean? So
big time.
Hopefully one of them wins in convincing fashion and looks better than they have in the past or whatever.
Well, Pedro's he has 6 professional fights and he's finished all 6 fights. 2 by way of TKO or knockout and 4 by submission choke. So, he is a finisher. It's there. Yes, 2 of them have only been in the UFC. So to what caliber, can you really justify them wins too? Latifi his fights tend to finish as well. I think his last one was Jean Valente that went the distance. Apart from that, he does have finishing on him. So I know what you're saying. Their styles could nullify one another. Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's more that.
Yeah. Hopefully we have a little bit of a finish. But I like Latifi. I don't know what it is. I think I know what it is. I know what it is. Yeah. I was at the fight. I seen him finish, and I was chatting to him after. And when you sort of have that, you have to feel it. You sort of follow the guy and you wish his career well. So that's why
I go through this weekly. When people retweet one of my breakdowns, it's the fighter. I'm like, I guess we're friends now.
Yeah, we got
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But,
go do karate in the garage.
Think of all the activities. But that's what for me with Latifi. That's when I seen it with Shanton. He was such a nice guy, but he has such potential there as well. So
and I think as well, looking back at his last fight, I thought he was doing pretty well against Ryan Bader. He ran into that. He ran into that knee, and that's not to say that Bader probably wouldn't have won the fight. He probably would have, but I thought he was really, really competitive against Ryan Bader, who is a good fighter in that division. He also has some good wins. He has a win over John Valente. It was a bit, hot and cold, but he's a good name.
Destroyed Sean O'Connell and
don't forget Ryan Bader was
top guy
on a killer mission, like a savage mission, and happened to run into the Superman of 205 minus DC's kryptonite in Rumble, and that was just a one-sided. What Rumble did to everyone not named Daniel Cormier, and that just seemed to really stop him in his path a tad, But Bader back then was on fire, don't forget that.
I think as well the experience that you brought up, Brendan, I think that's going to be important because 6-0, it's not a whole lot of fights in the UFC, and as well only 2 fights in the UFC. But if you look at his last couple of fights, you could see the inexperience against some of those guys. Now I do think Paul Craig is a good win, but you could definitely see the inexperience there, especially on the not even on the feet, but kind of transitions from the feet to the ground.
Yes.
That's where I think he's going to have problems because
Latifi, he wasn't overhooking properly.
Exactly.
He wasn't using head control properly. Those are
mistakes. It was just
those are things you kind of iron out in the gym.
Exactly. It just doesn't look like he's at that level where he's putting it all together, and I think that's where he's going to have problems because I do think he's going to try get it to the ground. I think Latifi would be happy to stay on the feet with that experience. I think he'd be happy to win rounds, but I think if Pedro doesn't get it down, and he hasn't really shown the ability to at this level, especially a guy like Latifi, who's not a huge guy in terms of size, as in height, but he's a big guy, and he has a low center of gravity. low centre of gravity, difficult to take down. So I think that could be a problem. That's why I'm leaning towards Latifi. But these guys who are really like 6-0, who knows how good they're going to get? Who knows how good they got from their last fight to now? Yeah. So, it's hard to pick. But I'm going to go with Latifi for the experience, as Brendan said.
No, I would, because I'm team Latifi. He spoke to me.
He also
best friends.
held a hurl. Remember he held a hurl in Dublin?
That's right, yeah. He held a hurl. He spoke to me. Best friends.
He held a what?
A hurl. Do you not know what a hurl is? Did you ever hear this?
A whore?
Hurl. H-U-R-L.
H?
H.
Oh, we're finding all kinds of shit out about each
Hurl.
other. H.
H.
Like the letter H?
Yeah.
You said H.
H.
You're adding all kinds of shit to a letter. Like you're making a letter a word.
H.
Moving on. We'll talk later about this.
Yeah. Hurling is a national sport of Ireland, Brendan.
Yeah.
Is it?
Do you know what the ball is called?
Did you say hurling?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Hurling.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. The ball is called a schlitter.
A schlitter?
A schlitter.
He said that very well, didn't he?
We have whores and shitters. Awesome.
You got it. First time you got it right.
Yeah, perfect. But hey, let's talk about fighting. See, we're a fight show.
Yeah.
Your next fight sees the former lightweight champion Rafael Anjos taking on Neil Magny. It is at welterweight. It's RDA's second walk at welterweight. So, how do we fancy the former champion's chances against Neil Magny?
Love that fight.
Yeah.
Love that fight. This is going to be RDA's test at 170.
Big time.
Should be, right? He's a guy that made a lot of sense to move up post USADA. I think he made pretty serious cuts to 155.
Yeah.
Which was evident especially like when he beat Pettis and he was on that run where he beat Henderson and everyone else. But USADA, whatever. I'm not saying he was a cheat. I don't know him well enough. But it looked like the cut was extreme. Right? So now at a more natural 170, it looks like he's pretty comfortable and his bulk hasn't lost speed per se. And he's better than a lot of people think, although he has shown signs of being chinny. Both of them are cardio monsters. So the chances that it's like not, pretty high paced is going to be kind of slim to none. Magny can take a beating. So even if Dos Anjos, say, picks him apart in the first round, you can't sleep on Magny to come out and pull off some, Gumby submission in the second round. It's very, very coin flip, and I think it'll be very telling where both of them are in their career. It's a wicked litmus test of a fight, and it should be fascinating because their styles are really kind of nothing alike.
Yeah,
Magny's very good with range, being unorthodox, as we kind of talk about often. RDA is more he's very technically sound. All those like King's MMA guys, they're all like, throw like the Dutchie all the time. He doesn't jab too much, but he's awesome at like using body work, flying knees. His grappling's excellent. His shot selection's great, but when you're going against someone a little bit awkward who pulls off crazy like stuff he almost shouldn't be on the ground in Magny, it's just it's a fascinating little stylistic matchup, I think. Experience nod kind of goes to RDA. Obviously, he was a champ, but not in that division. So, that almost nullifies.
I completely agree. I think what you said about it being like a litmus test for RDA, I think that's a great point because sometimes, like, I know he's gone up to this weight. It's the second time, and he fought Tarek Safadine. He was not a huge guy.
It was a close fight.
Yeah, it was a close fight. But I think with this one, sometimes when you see guys going up in weight, I find that they're put in there with somebody who's like extremely talented. I'm not saying Magny isn't talented; he's very talented, but like extremely talented and big. And you don't know what was the deciding factor.
It's not
Sometimes,
Gustafsson, in other words, though.
Yeah, sorry.
It's not like Gustafsson, in other words.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you can in this fight. I think skill for skill. I think we've seen RDA compete. I think he can compete with Magny skill for skill. So I think it's going to be a good litmus test to see can he deal with that size. So I think it's an important
I think
point.
Reach is a huge thing here. Magny has a 10-inch reach advantage.
Yeah.
That's like Dal. Really? Yeah, it's basically Dal Sim fighting blanket. That's what's going on here. Street Fighter reference.
Is Young Flame allowed? Did they say?
But no, there is a huge reach disadvantage for RDA. So he's got to work and get
What's
in.
his reach? Do you have it in front of you, bud?
Yeah, reach is 80-inch reach to a 70-inch.
Well,
reach.
80 inches is insane.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Magny's. That's insane. Wow.
For welterweight. That's
And again, like
170, he has an 80-inch reach. That's bananas.
And
I
leg.
have a crazy reach only because I have wide shoulders. Mine's like 74, 75.
Leg reach is 40,
That's
45
madness.
against 38. Leg reach 45 against 38. So it's a big. And again, I think
Yeah,
these,
I know. It's almost like just
these tools will come in on the ground as well. You know, as in he can snatch up these peculiar submissions that he pulls out due to his long dexterity and the sheer nature of pulling these
One
off.
important point as well on the ground. RDA is phenomenal on the ground.
Yeah.
An absolute
Oh, yeah.
beast of a black belt. But he has been put on the ground and he has been beat up a few times.
Yeah.
We have to remember that. We have to remember when he does go on his back.
Ooh,
Now, he is tricky there,
I can
but
think
he
of
has been
one.
beat up. He was beat up by... When I get it.
Nope.
I can think of one. Some Russian guy happened.
I know Jim Miller beat him up on the ground as well. He did hurt his jaw. I'm pretty sure his jaw.
When was that? 1974?
Yeah, no, it's 71.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. But when he has shown when he's on his back, he has been beat up before. And Magny...
Yeah, he's a top game kind of black belt.
Yeah, absolutely. But like Magny, who has serious ground and pound, that reach, like if he's in RDA's guard, he's going to be able to land from there. He doesn't have to pass guard to land.
Like we've talked about before, even from full guard, you're not safe at all. I think you're talking about Khabib's ragdoll session. But.
Yeah, Jesus, yeah. But yeah, it's an excellent fight.
I think
it's very interesting.
It's for RDA, the former champion. In a way, I think it's good because you get the champions coming up and they go straight away into title contention number 1. Yeah. I think this is a really Magny is ranked 6th in the UFC at the minute, so this is a great fight for RDA. He knows where he stands with this, and potentially if RDA comes through this, you're looking at a top 5 matchup and potential number 1 contendership fight. We've seen how well the likes of Cowboy has done with the move up as well. So obviously they've shared the cage together as well. So you can see why RDA could be looking maybe at the success that Donald Cowboy Cerrone has had and thought, hold on, I finished this guy in the first round. So let's replicate that and let's take the move
since
up.
2004. 2014. The only guys that Magny has lost to is Damian Maia and Lorenz Larkin. That's it.
Yeah.
Since 2014.
No shame in those.
No shame.
You know.
And if you look as well at who he's beaten, Kelvin Gastelum,
yeah.
Eric Silva, Hector Lombard, Johnny Hendricks.
Lombard.
You know, so
Hendricks.
Yeah.
Those are serious wins.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, some of them would have been better 3 years ago or 4 years ago, but I mean, that doesn't in any way disparage Magny's accomplishments. He's fantastic. And you said something that I wanted to jump in on. 170 needs an RDA more than 155 does. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Like 170, like losing Rory, especially now, Jesus God, that hurts. George is up at 185. 170's usually right there with 155, but lately it's like, who's even fighting now? Yeah. I don't know if it's because of who's at top, and I have nothing personal against Woodley, but it's almost like, who makes sense for him? Who's like the 2 and 3 spot? I love the Wonder Boy Masvidal fight. That feels like a title fight to me.
That's what I was about to say when you were mentioning the names. Realistically, though, RDA... How do you see RDA doing against a Wonder Boy or a Masvidal?
That's the big question.
Because they are bigger. Like they've got bulk. Like Magny he's a very gaunt, thin looking athlete. Like he's long and a huge reach, but the thicker sort of fighter. Like Masvidal has knockout power. Like if he was to land an RDA,
Wonder Boy is absolutely enormous.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
I think Masvidal would be more interesting because. He's got that phenomenal takedown defense, which Thompson's is good for what it is, but it's a different good. He blades well. He kind of shucks his hips out, whereas Masvidal can kind of shrug you off. He did that against Cowboy on a beautifully timed double leg. He just kind of shucked him, and he's more of like a scrapper, whereas Wonder Boy's a surgeon. I think I don't fare RDA too well there. Stephen Thompson could just blade and sidekick his way. All of a sudden, one comes up in the face, you're rocked. I don't think he fares well in that fight, but I'd love to see him versus Masvidal. That'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But good points on both. I don't know.
That's the thing. It's the upper echelons of the bigger guys. It's great when you say, his natural weight. This is his natural class. But you got like the size, the sheer size of like even like Woodley, Wonderboy, Masvidal. They have a huge advantage that they're cutting to get to that. I wouldn't imagine RDA is cutting that big an amount to get to 170 limit. But it's an intriguing fight. I think this is a real test of where he can be in the division, especially with the people that Magny has beaten. I know MMA maths doesn't work that way, but if you can beat the guy who's beaten the guy who's beaten the guy, it stands you in good stead. I'm picking Magny. Yeah,
you're picking Ric Flair for a minute there. To be the man, you got to beat the man. You're going on a run. That was great.
Spit out that banana.
I get a copyright claim.
All right.
No, I'm actually. I am going to go.
Flair?
I am going to go with Magny just for the experience at welterweight. With who he's been in there with, and I just think his dexterity and his length and his size is just going to be too much for RDA to come in against, and I think RDA could get clipped coming in. But I think it's an intriguing fight. I won't be if RDA. He's a champion, and champions just have that special pedigree. So I can certainly see how we can get it. Like if he unloads the way he did in previous fights and puts on, like I like RDA when he's at his aggressiveness, when he's really fast and aggressive and goes for it. That's how I think he gets in the inside and gets Magny to back up. But I don't know. I just fancy Magny.
I'm with you there. I'm in Sam.
Yeah, Magny as well.
Magny
Copycat,
as well,
he's just cutting me short. Come-in event, and I believe you may have a video about the bullet, Valentina Shevchenko. Have you released it, or are you working on that today?
Working. God, she's got way more to her game than I thought. I thought I'd be done by now, but man, it's just taking me longer. As I'm putting film together on her, I'm like, most of it I'm going back. A lot of it's her Thai fighting. She's so fucking good. Yeah. I like, honestly, I've seen her fight. I've seen most of her. I think if not all of her UFC fights, but she's been, or at least the ones I've seen, she's against really competitive fighters. Holly, the submission she had over Pena. I think that was more recent. And she gave what's-her-name a run, too, last time.
Amanda. Yeah, I think that if that was a 5-round fight, Shevchenko went on to win that.
Yeah. She's in her grappling is improving. Her striking is ridiculous. The one thing that I think is going to be a little fascinating there, besides, I'll save some of the technical things that I've caught that she does for the breakdown. So make sure you tune in, everyone.
Tune in.
But what I think will be fascinating is, as good of a striker as she is, she doesn't have a high KO rate at all. Yeah, it's actually pretty mediocre. I think it's like 30% for a high level striker. It's not that crazy. Whereas Amanda seems to just put a decimation on people by landing one punch. She's got that kind of terrifying power in her hands, and she's I believe a black belt in jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. So if it goes to the ground, who knows? But God, that's such a wonderful fight. That's like the probably the best fight you can make in any female division right now. That's realistic anyway.
It was originally scheduled for UFC 213, and Nunes went to the hospital. She had flu symptoms, wasn't it? And was pulled out. So a lot has been said. You have the backstory of the previous fight. Like Nunes, what I noticed with Nunes is when Nunes wins, she wins in dominant fashion. Like the win goes to submission against Miesha Tate, but let's kid not, she beat the brakes off Miesha Tate to get to that position.
It was an uppercut that put her into Neptune first,
And then, of course, the Ronda Rousey fight where these look like these two people should not be locked in the same arena as one another.
That was an assault.
Yeah, I don't know how she wasn't arrested after it. But now, when you look at her, like even against Sarah McMahon, that was a submission choke, but she landed serious power shots in that as well. But I think like if you look at Katsugano fight with her, Katsugano got through that storm. Yeah. And Katsugano finished her in the third round, so she brought her into the deeper waters. I'm not even going to say it's a cardio thing, because I just think Amanda Nunes,
she's a fast starter.
Yeah, she's trying. She's a fast starter, but she's trying to finish the fight. And if you can get through that stage, that's where your window of opportunity comes. And I think Valentina Shevchenko had that window in their last fight. The third round was all Shevchenko. Yeah. And I would have been like, the thing about this fight is it's going to be 5 rounds. So I think this is where if Valentina can survive the barrage and the assault of Amanda Nunes in the early rounds, and she gets her into 4 and 5, that's where Shevchenko can win this fight. But again, we know this. You know that. We know that Nunes starts like this. So as Robin Black said to us when he was on us, so they know this. Yeah. So
that's the big interesting thing, isn't it?
The Nunes camp knows that this happens. So will she approach a 5-round fight with Shevchenko differently to how she approached a 3-round fight?
That's the weird one, because as Brendan said, Shevchenko doesn't have a lot of finishes, and she has a lot of decisions, and a lot of those decisions are pretty dominant on the feet. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how Nunes approaches this, especially considering how the last one went, where Shevchenko completely took over that third round. Like, Nunes had barely any offense in that third round, so it was clearly going on the way to a Shevchenko victory if that was going to 5. Now, we can't obviously just take that last fight and say, oh, well, she was winning the last round, she's definitely going to win this. But it'll be interesting to see how Nunes starts this one, because if she truly feels that she can't get Valentina out there in the first or the second early, will she approach it differently, and will that affect her herself? Because I think we touched on this before, when people talk about the likes of Anderson Silva, why didn't he not play around against Chris Weidman? Yeah. Because that's his game. That's how he won so many fights. That's what he does. And what Amanda Nunes does, she goes out and she blasts girls. She just goes out and puts them out in the first round. So if she goes out and approaches that differently and says, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to be technical, I'm going to try win rounds, I'm going to try not to gas. Will that be a worse decision than actually going in there and just try finishing the first? So that's what I find really interesting about this one.
Against a counter-striker, it might be a horrific idea. Yeah. It's not as though Valentina's getting worse. She's getting exponential. It's fractal. She's exponentially better every time. She outstruck Holly Holm, I think, like, convincingly. It'd be really hard to make a case for Holly Holm winning that. I think it's impossible, in fact. But Valentina, you're talking about the next thing, the next Holly Holm was the next big thing, the women's kickboxing kick-ass machine, and then she picked her apart. She beat Joanna standing, although she's much bigger, in Thai fights. You don't want to go in there. It's not as Amanda's got heavy hands and really good hands, but she's not like Vasily Lomachenko. Yeah. You know what I mean? She's not like slipping, and you know what I mean? Like, she throws hands, and against a counter, Valentina kind of is like that. And she's got this crazy arsenal of her spinning. Her spinning shit is off the charts, and she does it in like odd ways. You'll see. I'll have the breakdown done in a couple hours, but when I break down the way that she does, I'll have it done today.
Yeah, we'll link it in the video for tomorrow.
Oh, I'll have it done yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yesterday. So it'll be link.
But for you guys anyway, the point is like to see the way that she manipulates the center line and like how she exactly counter strikes. I would not be surprised if you see a new champ emerge from that.
Yeah, well, I honestly think my thoughts on this is, like, Amanda Nunes will disagree with that. But I honestly think the best result here for the UFC is Shevchenko to win this, because you're going to have a rivalry where they're both 1-on-1 together.
Rubber match.
Yeah, and you have that big rubber match. Because a lot of people were saying when Ronda Rousey fell from grace that how will the women's division stand up? Will there be superstars? And I honestly think this is a co-main event that people are excited about. And like, as much as, we can be PC and I'd say it, the people who weren't getting that excited about the women's fights after Ronda Rousey went. The coverage wasn't there as much as when it was Ronda involved. But I honestly think the coverage for this fight has been there. And I think if Shevchenko was to win this fight and the rubber match was to happen, it'd be the main event. It wouldn't be under a men's. It would be the main event. I honestly think if it was a rubber match, and rightfully so. And what I think will stand out in this is these are two seriously talented mixed martial artists, and it's going to be showcased on Saturday night. I can't wait for this fight. This for me potentially has fight of the night on the card, and it's a stacked card. And for me, this is potential fight of the night, and I can't wait.
What's the odds? Do you have the odds there?
Odds are even.
Yeah,
I
probably.
looked at them earlier. They're like even.
Paddy Power have Shevchenko as the slight favourite at 4-5.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
And Amanda Nunes 10-11 for
Yeah, so-
people in Live in Decimals world. That's Amanda Nunes at 1.9 and Valentina Shevchenko at 1.8.
Yeah, so fairly even.
Yeah, fairly
like I
even.
said, even.
Yeah.
Yeah, Schlitter.
Jesus Christ.
Your main event of the evening sees the pound for
Hey,
pound
no,
best.
I want real
go on.
quick. Sorry, everyone knows what the main event is, so I didn't spoil the party. What I wanted to say is Ronda's fall from grace and the fall of women's MMA to some extent. Honestly, I think some of that is the best or the champs or whatever right now don't really speak English as their first language.
Yeah.
That hurts. Like
at least
someone like
speak
GSP
English well.
being French first speaking, he still speaks perfect English.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make fun of his accent, but he can sit in a room with anyone who can sit in a room with John Danaher. If you guys ever get lucky enough to meet him, I mean, that guy's the shit he talks about is so.
I want John
insane
Danaher on the show.
philosophically.
Yeah. That's your
You
next
know, so
challenge.
the point is George speaks English.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but with like Amanda doesn't really. Valentina seems to be getting better. Joanna's definitely getting way better.
Yeah.
And she's become. But you notice her stock is rising, or as
The level of English
would say, her stock has
It's
risen.
relative.
Right? As she gets better with her English and marketing and being stateside more, you know,
true.
because she's the best at 115 for sure. And if Valentina pulls this off, it's that's interesting within itself. But yeah, that's kind of my theory, because like Valentina's, they can make her look like a model. You know what I mean? It's not as though she's unmarketable. It's just a matter of speech.
Yeah.
You have to relate to the fans on that level sometimes.
Well,
Anyway.
I thought Amanda Nunes trash talkers. I have all the tools to beat you. Fucking hell, lay it out there. Jesus, take it easy.
By the way, you're picking Shevchenko, is it?
Yeah, I'm picking
Mine too,
Shevchenko
yeah.
on that, and I actually
I thought
think
you were serious. I was like,
I think
What?
I think she'll do it in the fourth round. I think she'll actually finish Amanda Nunes in the fourth round. And set up a rubber match. I think it'd be great. The main event, pound for pound, greatest fighter on the planet. I don't think that's too
Right
far
now.
of a stretch. Demetrious Johnson taking on Ray Borg. Me and Rob spoke briefly and said, is it too early, this shot for Ray Borg? And I thought, it's always going to be too fucking early when he's fighting Demetrious Johnson. What's your
it's always
thoughts?
going to be too early if you're a 125 pounder.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
He shouldn't. You know what's funny? Anderson never suffered from being at 185 when no one else was.
Yeah.
Right? But for some reason with DJ, and I think there is this odd beta male attraction to watching big males that it's fucking bizarre to me.
Yeah.
As an analyst, a former fighter, as a coach, as a whatever I am, watching Demetrious Johnson is magical. Like I sit there like this, and I don't know him like I know other. I'm much closer to other fighters that are probably more popular, I guess. But watching his technique, like if you ever wanted to show someone like this is the beauty of mixed martial arts, that's the guy. That's the guy. He's just that much better than everyone else. These Cejudos and Pettis is looking great on his way up, and Benavidez, and these are all complete. I mean, Cejudo maybe was rushed a tad, but. Yeah, I mean, to your point, of course, it's always too early. It doesn't matter who. You know, what about Dodson? You telling me everyone didn't think he was going to be a destroyer at 125? Nah, you ran into DJ. Sorry. Next time. No, next time you got fucked up again. That's right. So it's just how good he is. Forget Borg. I mean, could Borg pull it off? Of course. I mean, it's a scrap, and he's got brilliant jiu-jitsu. And he's also a Jackson Wink guy, which is fascinating because you got two of the most heralded coaches right there, Matt Hume, and I guess you could just call it Jackson Wink, but that's a coach's fight. I mean, it's fun on a lot of levels,
Well, the whole DJ as Ray Borg's jiu-jitsu is absolutely phenomenal, but DJ turned around after his victory against Wilson Heiss, where he said, who doesn't want to tune in to watch a white belt tap a black belt?
Yeah,
and
I know.
That's what he done. So what I love about
armbarred him.
What I love about watching DJ fight is when he's against a jiu-jitsu guy, he'll almost go, right, I'm going to beat you at jiu-jitsu now then. And then, like, the people criticize, his Muay Thai's not great. What fight was it? Was it Henry Cejudo that he absolutely destroyed him in the clinch in the Muay Thai plunge?
And Cejudo said post-fight that his plan was to clinch.
Yeah, and he got kneed in the clinch and, like, just almost fell back into the cage.
Like circular one-handed knees, and then he'll slap his way back into the clinch, clinch it up tight, and then he'll loosen up and get into a Greco clinch. He's a master. Yeah. He's perfect everywhere.
And even
I don't know how anyone couldn't appreciate his style. It's what I love
about DJ as well. And people say, he doesn't finish. He does finish, like, and he chases it. Like, you remember the fight with Horiguchi?
He's got a better finishing rate than John Jones. How about that?
Yeah, but remember the fight against Horiguchi where, with a second to go in the fifth round, he went for the armbar and he got it. The arm lock, he got it. And
125-pounder finishing fights at all is awesome. He's finishing most of them now.
Yeah. Like, ultimate respect. I absolutely love watching Demetrious Johnson. But you know what the UFC need to do? They need to stop. No, they forget that too. But they need to stop putting Big Dan Murgliata in as the referee, because what you're saying about the males, we want to see the big guys. Because when they come together, Murgliata looks like he's on the school run. And he's bringing his children for the first day in play school or something. Because Murgliata's about
he's like
6'5" or something. So he's huge, man. And then, like, if the guy, so just, I don't know, like, put in, what's the little guy with the T-Rex arms? What's his name?
What? The Brock Lesnar
guy?
The
neck tattoos and all. What's his name?
That guy, he's good, actually.
He's a good ref.
Yeah, he's a good ref.
Get him in.
What are you talking about? You got the hipster hair?
No, he's the guy with the, I think he has like a neck tattoo.
He's a neck tattoo. Sorry.
My favorite.
And he's like, he has real small T-Rex arms. He looks like a little T-Rex.
Oh, this guy sounds handsome. He's
actually, it's terrible. I'm unjustifying it because I'm doing
he's a good referee. By the way, I see Josh Rosenthal's back in the game.
Your point is he's not that tall, right?
Yeah. He's not that Murgliata.
Rosenthal's back soon. Is that what you just said?
Rosenthal's back, yeah. Not in the UFC. He was
Invicta, wasn't it?
Was it Invicta, was it? It was, I don't know what it was. I've seen a screenshot.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Dude, he's good. He's amazing.
He's great.
He's one of the best we've ever had.
Yeah.
Super referee.
Back to Demetrious Johnson.
Yeah.
What I love about Demetrious Johnson, and I think we've gotten nerdy about Demetrious Johnson so much on this show, it's ridiculous. I'd say people are sick of it. But MMA as a style is, I don't know if it's like fully developed yet. Like, you have like all the different styles, but there's something what Demetrious Johnson does. It's like filling in those styles, like the in-betweens.
Yeah.
And like when it's just watching that,
I know exactly where you're going.
You don't see, like, you can't really see. It's hard to explain. You can't really tell what he's gonna do because it hasn't really been done very much. If you get me,
yeah. I'll give my take on what I think you're trying to say.
Go ahead. You'll say it probably better than I did.
So when we first started watching the UFC, right? If that was the first experience with MMA, it was mixing martial arts, right? Mixed martial arts meant the mixing of martial arts.
Yes.
Eventually, as time went on, the artists started mixing the martial arts themselves, right? So you became complete. So whether it was Frank Shamrock learning to strike, and then there was kind of the next gen guys, and then GSP took it to another level, and then there's been some other levels. DJ is like the complete mixed guy. We don't know what to expect. He could come out and like start boxing. Yes. You know what I mean? No one would go like, I didn't see that, Cuphead. Like, it's not going to surprise anyone. So when the acronym went from mixing the martial arts to mixed martial artist, how many martial arts can you mix? God, with him, I don't know. 40?
It's insane.
He's a renaissance man in the ring. It's fantastic, and I know what you mean. Like, if MMA were its own martial art, who would it look like? It'd be him. 100%. That's
Matt Hume. I think Matt Hume is not responsible, but he's definitely a driving force behind it. Did you ever watch Matt Hume's old fights? He didn't look like
a bad man.
Holy shit! And he didn't his record wasn't the best record, but the stuff that he was doing was just so advanced. But I think
so ahead of its time.
Exactly. One thing I think kind of encapsulates what I mean by it is, compare Demetrious Johnson's fights to Stefan Struve versus Volkov on the weekend. And not to bash that fight, because I actually did enjoy that fight. I thought it was a good fight. But there was moments in that fight where people were saying, why isn't Stefan Struve shooting for a takedown? Why isn't Stefan Struve doing... You don't see that in or hear that in a Demetrious Johnson fight. Demetrious Johnson is
You don't have
free
time to-
fighting. He's free fighting. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You don't ever hear, why he's not going for a takedown? Why he's not trying to use his jiu-jitsu? He's using MMA. You never hear, why he's not shooting for a takedown? It's that thing. It's
just fluidity between the
It's
transitions
insane.
from one style to the next.
He's
that is
actually free
flawless.
fighting.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's flawless.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
Like when I did my, like, it was based on kind of a Game of Thrones plan where it's, I always like kind of hide things in my breakdowns that are artistic just for maybe
Yeah.
if I get hit by a bus, someone will appreciate the like artistic merit to some of the things I do. But like with his, I called it Game of Threes, and it was like the three elements of the three facets of the game. But I called it the Game of Threes, like Game of Thrones, because he's the king, right? So with with Mighty Mouse and his name and everything, it just felt like it worked. And what I was trying to say was, in the phases of clinch work, in the phases of groundwork, in the phases of standing, if there's three phases to each, he's so good at all of them. Like, where's his hole in his game besides fighting guys much bigger than him? I've never seen one.
So
That guy, he literally is like perfect out there.
To keep on the Game of Thrones theme, will Ray Borg be Jaime Lannister and be the King Slayer?
very nice.
On Saturday night.
Did Jaime Lannister loses wiener?
No, that's the guy from
Jaime Lannister,
Game,
the
of,
Kingslayer.
Game of Thrones. He killed the king and the king's. You've lost it.
Yeah, but didn't something happen to him?
No, he lost his hand.
Spoiler alert,
Yeah,
people!
it
If
was
you
very
haven't,
spoiler.
if you haven't watched Game of Thrones,
No, Ray Borg will be. He'll be the guy that got crushed by the mountain there. I forget his name.
Oh yeah, he's in
Oberyn Martell.
He's in Narcos as well. That dude.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah.
Nice
I'm
job. Nice job.
I'm a nerd.
Rob is a proper movie and TV nerd.
Ah,
I do like Game of Thrones. That's
Game of
about
Thrones,
it.
fantastic. We'll go down a rabbit hole.
I think Demetrious Johnson. Let's move on. I think Demetrious Johnson's hole could be that. That sounds weird.
Yeah.
Could be that anybody can get hit. Like Ray Borg can hit him. He has been hit in the past.
The whole thing is you're only unbeatable until you're beaten.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody doesn't see a hole in the game until somebody
I
exploits
think
it.
what will be most surprising, not if Ray Borg wins, because if he wins, he could definitely win. But will be if he dismantles DJ or something like that, and he like outskills him. That like a TJ Dillashaw against Barrow, something like that. That would be crazy. But if he lands something, I'm not like
Cody Garbrandt and Cruz. Nobody was expecting
exactly.
that, really,
if something like that happens, then I'll be like, holy shit, Ray Borg.
Yeah.
What the hell did you drink? But if he lands something, then fair enough. But you have to be thinking that DJ is going to win this one.
Yeah, I would be picking DJ, and I'm just looking at the odds, and he is a huge favorite.
Yes.
Huge.
He's
Like minus,
1 to
in
10.
our way, it's minus 1,100 or 1,200.
Jesus Christ.
So you'd have to put up 1,200 to win 100.
Yeah,
Jesus.
That's
over.
absurd odds.
That's more than Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Which is crazy in mixed martial arts.
So I think it's easy to say we're all going to be going with Demetrious Johnson, picking Demetrious on Saturday night.
Yeah.
That it's a super
it's a
super
Well, with
main
Tyrion
card.
Lannister. Tyrion.
Yeah, that's so I threw that out there and none of you has picked up on it. I was disgusted. I was like, yeah, Tyrion Lannister, no, whatever.
I just got the wrong guy. My bad.
It's a great card. MMA is back. It's in full flow. As much as we said we did have UFC Rotterdam, it was like just a little taste. They gave you a little appetizer. This is your main course.